have 5 minutes for questions before the second part of the session. We have a question here on the internet that comes from, it's for Karl Simich. It's from Tatenda Gwini. How have your partners, the banks, the investors, the customers, reacted to Botswana? Are they bullish on the investment and regulatory environment there?
Thanks very much, Bill, and thanks for the question. In terms of the exposure that we've had, certainly from a government perspective, it's been extraordinarily positive, encouraging, and we have worked through the process of the environmental impact statement. It's been a very thorough preparation in terms of what we've done, and then lodging that with the department, and that has been approved. Our expectations are we will lodge soon our mining permit application, and the statutory period is essentially a 30-day approval period. We expect it might take slightly longer, but essentially we don't expect any sort of delays in that. It'll be well prepared. And the government, in fact, the Department of Minerals and Energy, continue to call us all the time, seeking to understand when we'll be lodging that permit. So they're very much prepared for it. They're waiting for it. They're very excited to receive that. And so that pathway has been very positive, and we couldn't be more delighted with our interaction with the government in Botswana. So that's very good. In terms of funding capacity and looking at that aspect of the business, certainly Botswana, in terms of a place to operate in the world, is a high category place to operate in Africa. I think it's rated in the Fraser Institute as the #1 place in Africa to operate, and we found that certainly in our activities to date. The history of mining there since independence, and certainly with Anglo-American and their De Beers operations, the Zhuaning and Arapa mine they've got there are significant mines, significant earnings for the country, and that's a 50-50 joint venture to Botswana. And the important thing is the country understands well at the highest level the value of extractive industries in its purest form, and it operating well, so they appreciate that. In terms of bankers essentially from Southern Africa and also UK, Europe, they're very much in line, that time zone. They understand it well. They've been investing in that part of the world. Huge amount of interest from multiple banks. We're down to a short list. We'll probably fund the project marginally or partially to give it a better leverage return from our shareholders' perspective. So it's all green lights from that perspective, Bill, and in terms of the people involved, the communities we're involved with, and empowering people, giving them jobs, giving them opportunity. I think it's all, it's a full set of green lights that we're seeing coming down the runway.
Thank you, Karl. We have a second question here on the platform. This one comes from Jackson Rotary. Has the M&A drum been beating in Africa? And this is this is for Richard. If so, who has been doing the beating, and what is the tune?
It's just turned on. Look, there's always a lot of interest from other companies. It's probably best that we keep most of our discussions, in-house. There's nothing we can update the market with at the moment, but there's certainly been a lot of interest. And also, we also keep a good eye on what other junior companies are doing, and I like what I see with some of the junior companies, but certainly for West African, we're looking internally for the next 12 months. We've really got to get maximum value out of the assets we've got, and that's ramping the mine up. Keep drilling at M1 South, get Toega up the value curve. There's a fair bit of work to do there before we start looking at other things, certainly for what we might be interested in. But and we've got to extract maximum value for our shareholders, and the only way we can do that is by 10-year mine plan on the underground, 10-year mine plan on the open pits.
Very good. Thank you, Richard. I have a question for Tom. With this Lithium Valley initiative in Western Australia and the fact we produce a lot of nickel and, 60% of the world's lithium resources are here in Western Australia, what's the potential for bringing graphite across the Indian Ocean and doing something with connecting in with that initiative? And is there some support, given the conflict between China and the States, is there some support that you can get from this newly established Critical Minerals Facilitation Office in Canberra? It was established only in, I think, February this year. They are really pushing to the electric vehicle downstream processing aspect in Australia. Is there another opportunity there for you to supply graphite into Western Australia to feed into that electric vehicle battery market?
I guess the short answer, Bill, is yes. It depends on, because there's such a variety in terms of graphite products that can be produced and highly dependent upon so many physical and chemical characteristics of the concentrate itself. You've got to ascertain whether there is a market here for the product that you actually could produce here. When we talk about anode material and potentially producing battery anode material, that's pretty high capex. So for a junior to embark on that specifically to get to battery anode material would probably be fairly difficult.
But to supply into it, I'm more thinking about, rather than running the whole show yourself.
Yes, again, is the answer, as long as there's a sizable investor looking to build something like a battery anode facility here. As I said, batteries are probably the single one. Do you really want to create one here when Europe is expanding at a huge rate of knots in terms of producing or aims of producing batteries in Europe, in Korea, in Japan, obviously China, and in the US. It'll be interesting to see who would take that leap of faith. In terms of other graphitic products, possibly, but if you take the coarse material, is there a market for fire retardant material here? Quite possibly, and that attracts a high value. Is there for graphite foil, which is again a function of coarse flake? Given that it goes into the electronics industry and the like, probably not. And then the last stuff in the middle is really your refractory material, which is, there's some pretty fixed places that produce large quantums already around the world.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Are there any questions from the floor? Mark?
Just checking if Peter Ledwidge is still online.
Yes.
Hello, Peter. It's Mark Andrews from Pay Dirt Media. How are you?
Very good, thanks.
Thanks for the presentation. Just congratulations on the success of the company so far. Is the ultimate aim to be a takeover target, or are you looking to build the project yourself?
Well, that's our preferential path down the road, but if that doesn't happen, well, then we're prepared to kind of do like Richard did with West African Resources, and ideally that's what we'd like to do. 2 or 3 years, or once we've got a feasibility done, but not get it done too early. Wait till you have at least a couple of million ounces into the ground.
Great. And did you say a second rig was arriving on site in November? Is that correct?
Yep, that's the plan right now. So, the first target will be Chaga East, where we only put 3 holes in, and so we're going to put 1,500 meters of drilling into that. And as soon as we're currently just about to start an IP program on Gogbala. So as soon as we have that finished, then we'll be doing our 5,000 meter drill program on that. So plenty of news flow coming up, not just till the end of the year, but all through next year as well.
Thanks, Peter. Hopefully we can see you here next year.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm missing out on all the drinks as well.
Are there any other questions from the floor? I think we're running a little bit behind time, so let's pull this part of the session to a close, and thank you all. If now the